what he's gonna have to do with Fox, but he got to work with both Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert, and I feel like when one of those guys were out, and I'm gonna focus mainly on Karis LeVert just because I watched him play more than Malcolm Brogdon, just because I haven't seen Malcolm Brogdon
Mhm.
healthy too much this season. But when Karis
Mhm.
LeVert was the point guard for the team, and he would get those screens from Sabonis, I feel like that opened up his game a lot. Do you feel like he could have that type of effect on De'Aaron Fox? I mean, I feel like we've seen it already a little bit, but can you speak to the volume of how good he is as a screener and what he does for the point guards?
Yeah, it's funny you brought this up. So Caitlin Cooper is another Pacers writer. She's fantastic. Everyone listening, go follow her on Twitter. She's like my Twitter basketball coach. Like she breaks down the game. DHOs, all the lingo that I'm like, dang, I gotta catch up. She wrote a great piece about him as a screen setter and what it means. He sets rock solid screens, and I think the difference between maybe him being paired with De'Aaron as opposed to him being paired with Karras. Karras is looking to go one-on-one most of the time after you got a screen. That's just the nature of his game and why I think he fits better in Cleveland because they need like a six-man scorer type of guy. But with De'Aaron, there is more of a distributor vibe. He can also score, obviously. So I think that by that pick and roll, the threat of De'Aaron coming off the pick and roll and being downhill or spraying out to a shooter, and also having Domantas rolling, creates another dynamic for that offense. But he set some really, really hard screens. And I think that it just comes down to timing. Sometimes he'll get called for a moving screen if you don't wait long enough. But if you wait, you're pretty much guaranteed to get some separation because you're not moving through that guy. Like he's pretty strong, pretty stout. He's a legitimate 6'11", and he's mobile. So I think that with those rock solid screens, being able to roll, being able to shoot a little bit as well. I'm sorry, it's kind of dark in here now.
You gotta
I'll
move
see
those
if I can
hands.
get
Move
the
those
I'll get
hands,
the next
man. Move
question
those
for you.
hands.
But yeah, I think with Sabonis, he's a fantastic, screen setter. I don't think there's any question about that. He's a guy that got the lights working back again.
There you
But
go.
there's no question about him as a screen setter, one of the best in the league. And like I said, I believe if you all really want to dive deeper into it, Google Caitlin Cooper, Domantas Sabonis screens, and you can see read a great story about it because I did, and open my eyes to just how much that affects a team's offense.
So I don't want to just talk about only the pros. Let Kings fans hear some of the cons about Domantas Sabonis. What are some things that he either needs to work on or some flaws that could probably be a problem for the pairing between him and Fox?
He averages 4 turnovers a game this year, so that's a bit concerning. It's like you don't want this guy to be averaging that many turnovers. That's really high. That's 4 possessions. That could be a ton of points if a team takes advantage of those. So that's one area where it's like maybe he'll be able to get some relief because he was asked to do a lot here, mainly as a de facto point guard most of the time. Especially when Malcolm and other guys were out, and before they even got Haliburton. I mean, it was basically like DeMontis was the point center, or so to speak. So I do think that that's a cause for concern. You want to see him take care of the ball better. I do think there's some limitations on defense. He probably doesn't move his feet as great as other bigs as you would like. But I do think the flip side is that he'll be able to guard more centers. Like the thing why him and Miles Turner never really worked is that whenever they were on the floor together, one of them was out of position because they're both centers. So hopefully he'll be able to guard more centers in Sacramento and be able to move his feet a little bit better. So I think defensively he has some limitations. He's not a shot blocker. He's never going to be a guy who's going to get above the rim and be a rim protector. So that is an issue if you want to have a center. So you might want to, if you look at the Sacramento roster, it's like who else is going to be that guy to protect the paint because Sabonis is just by nature not a guy who's going to be a high flyer. I will say, he will try. He'll get up there. He'll get a block here and there, but he's not, known as being like a very big lob threat or rim protector. And there is some streakiness with his shooting, his outside shooting. He's an okay three-point shooter. He's not great. Okay jump shooter, not great. But again, I think that in this trade, if you're looking at what the Kings wanted and where they're trying to go this season, trying to chase that playing game, he could help them do that because he makes an immediate impact by just playing to his strengths. And I think that in Sacramento, he'll have a chance to do that because he'll be asked to be just a center instead of being the center, the point guard, and pretty much everywhere in between. I mean, there were times where he'd get a rebound and be asked to push it up the floor. And Rick Carlisle was saying that sometimes that was their best offense because he was the one creating it. And I think by having De'Aaron out there, it helps. So there were some limitations. Malcolm's been out with an Achilles thing for what seems like forever now. But being in this situation for Sabonis is obviously going to be good for him. And I know he said he's looking for a home, and I'm hoping he can find it because he's a good dude, man. He's a nice guy. Never any issues in the media, never pouty or anything. I know he got mad at me once for asking about him and Miles, but that's over with now, and I think he's forgiven me.